Hey everyone, Andrew here, bringing you another video review, and today we're going to be doing Supergirl, Way of the World. Take a look at this comic cover right here. Now, Supergirl, Way of the World is kind of a really important story to Supergirl, not only as a character, but also as a comic too, because this is really where I think Supergirl really should be taken seriously as a comic. Up until this point, we've done some good story arcs with Supergirl, and some fun story arcs, and some interesting story arcs. But really, this is where the story arc where I say Supergirl is a character that should be taken seriously as a comic, and also as a character. Now, the major themes in Way of the World, I can really sum up in two themes. One is Supergirl, you're not perfect. You are not perfect. And two is life is not fair. Now, I want to digress a bit and talk about what I said in Supergirl Beyond Good and Evil. Now, Supergirl Beyond Good and Evil, I commented, was more or less a stepping stone for future Supergirl story arcs. That some aspects in that would transition to other Supergirl stories, but it wasn't necessarily necessary. While I still hold true that it isn't absolutely essential, it's still used to develop later plots. And one major plot that was set up in Beyond Good and Evil is used in this. And that is Supergirl making a promise to a child who has terminal cancer that she would not let him die. Now, this is kind of a mistake on Supergirl's part. She made reference to the fact that she would not let him die in the building accident. But of course, the kid took it the wrong way, the parents take it the wrong way, and Supergirl, being an idealistic youth, believes that she can actually find a cure for cancer for this child. Now, I'm going to say up front that this may have a few spoilers in this story, so if you don't want to hear the total ending to the story, and I won't spoil the ending, but if you don't want to hear spoils to some aspects of the story, you might want to just skip to the very end. But, with that said, I still believe that Beyond Good and Evil is not necessarily need to be picked up, because this kind of updates you on what's been happening with Supergirl in the previous story arc and how it affects this story arc. So let's start this thing off. Supergirl is looking for a cure for cancer, wanting to save that kid. She believes she can actually do this. Whether or not this is Supergirl having too much pride, or being too idealistic, or just the fact that she's just not veteran enough to know that you can't do this stuff, she still believes that she can save this boy. She made a promise, and she's sticking to it. She starts off by asking advice from Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman, as you may or may not know, is viewed as somewhat of a foster parent to Supergirl. See, Supergirl thinks of four people as really surrogate parents. She sees Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and Lana Lane, all kind of mother, father, mentor figures to Supergirl. And they all kind of represent different aspects of Supergirl's personality and growth process. Superman morally, Batman training-wise when it comes to building up as a superhero, Wonder Woman when it means being a superhero to other people, and Lana Lane in the aspect of being just a normal girl. So anyways, Supergirl asks Wonder Woman, hey, can you help me out? And Wonder Woman says, hold that thought for a second. Flies back to Themyscira, or actually gets Supergirl to fly to Themyscira, get the purple ray gun, knocks Supergirl on her ass, and then heals her up with the purple ray gun, and says basically, this gun can do wonders, but the one thing it can't do is cure cancer. That's something outside of our range, outside our power. You shouldn't have gave that kid a promise like that. And Supergirl still says, you know what, I'm still going to do it. Now, Supergirl goes through a lot of stuff to try to save this kid. One in particular, she frees a known criminal from prison and tries to get him to work with her. She also gets a individual, and I forget the dude's name. I believe he's the Immortal. I forget, but he's an immortal, and every time he dies, he gets a new superpower, which is kind of cool. You die, you get a superpower. Fucking awesome. Supergirl tries to work with these two to find an answer, a cure for cancer for the child. However, it doesn't necessarily work out the way she wants to. She also goes so far to fight against a time criminal and wait 50 years. Throughout 50 years in space for this time criminal, so she can steal the time-traveling device and save this child. I don't want to reveal too much on whether she succeeds or not, but you can kind of get a feel of what happens. In addition to that, we also start to build up a plot that, Supergirl isn't necessarily liked by the general public in the DC universe. They view her as kind of a Superman Jr. You know, why do I need to listen to this blonde bimbo when I can be listening to Superman? I don't trust you. You're not Superman. And it's really something that really starts to build up here and transitions over to the next story arc, which I will be reviewing later. So let's get on to the good, the bad, and whether or not you should get it. Good. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. This is a very powerful story. This isn't your standard superhero story. It's punch, kick, pow, fighting. There's not that much action in the story, to be honest. There is some action, but it's not an action story. This is a very plot-driven story, a very character-driven story, and you really start to see Supergirl grow. She really stumbles and falls and realizes that maybe, you know, I'm not perfect. I can't do everything. Despite my name, despite the S on my chest, I am not perfect, and I can't do everything. And she really learns stuff the hard way. Which is kind of funny because Superman, despite how he may have some faults, really doesn't learn things the hard way. Superman idealistically, personality-wise, and morally is perfect when it comes down to it. He may have his hiccups, his stumbles, and his faults here and there, but morally, you know, he's Superman. But Supergirl's not. She makes mistakes. She needs to learn stuff. She is just handed the title of Supergirl. She hasn't quite grown into it, and we really get to see this here. And boy, is this powerful. We really see how Supergirl really goes to the end of the earth for this one kid, and it's really quite touching, and you can't help but get that little feeling in your chest. You know, that little feeling when you're about to get a little emotional, but you hold it back because you don't want to look like a pussy, but you get that feeling. It's a very emotional story when it comes down to that. So that is a very nice thing, too. So you really get a lot of character development with Supergirl. In addition to that, some of the aspects in previous stories with Supergirl, like Identity and Beyond Good and Evil, transition over into this too, which is also very nice. And this also sets up the grounds for future story, character plots, and future story ideas for future Supergirl stories. Duh. Bad. I can't really think of too much bad with this. I mean, it is a short story and they're asking $17 for it. That might be a bit. So you might as well want to get it online on eBay or Amazon. Even with shipping and handling, you probably could get it cheaper than buying it at a store. But that's really the only bad I can think about this. Maybe the other one is that this isn't really action-packed. And if you're looking for a really action-packed story, I suggest you go over to something else. JSA, Superman. There's tons of other stuff you can do. What you got to realize is Supergirl as a comic isn't, you know, action-packed, punch, kick, fight kind of thing. It's more of a character development of Supergirl. It's really great to see Supergirl start at point A and go to point S. I mean S as in super. You really see her start to grow as a character, and that's what makes her such a likable character, is the fact that she's not perfect and she's just growing. So on a whole, whether or not you should get it, definitely. A lot of people I've talked to on not Facebook, YouTube, and even through email have said, you know, they really wasn't impressed by this story, but I have to disagree. This was a very powerful Supergirl story, and this is really a story that you can take Supergirl seriously as a comic and as a character, because when you look at certain stuff like, let's just take Candor for a reason, that was just a clutterfuck when it comes down to a story. Some aspects were good about it, but on a whole, it was like, really, can I take this Supergirl story seriously? But this is really where you look at Supergirl and you go, hey, this is serious. Let's really look into this comic, and I recommend this. This is a fun comic. The art is really nice too. Really great art. Supergirl just looks absolutely stunning throughout all this, and I recommend picking it up. So with that said, definitely a Supergirl must get. This is Andrew saying, peace out for now.